Yeah, I think the market's changed significantly in the last 15 years. I think the entrepreneurial spirit in the industry and in the market now, compared to even the last 2 or 3 years, is greater, is significantly grown and telescoped. And I think if you look back 15 years at that point, particularly when we diversified and set up Dental Elite, even then there was only a few niche specialists in the market that was dealing in each individual job category. So whether you was an accountant, whether you was a solicitor, whether you was a broker, there was nowhere near the volume of expertise in the market at that point than where we are now. And I think what influenced that massively was the change in the Dental Act, which allowed private equity. The change in NHS contract had a huge change and impact on that. I think there was going to be some restrictions on how you could transfer contracts, and obviously various experts got around how you can do that and made selling dental practices still the market it is today. I think if you look at recruitment issues, I think 15 years ago, I think recruitment's always been a contention in the market, but nowhere near the level of what it is now. There was still a huge influence from European dentists wanting to work in the UK. Prices of practices were nowhere near that level. And I think when you look at the level of consolidation that's happened in the last 15 years and to the point where we are now, you can see how things have become more expensive. It's become far more entrepreneurial. It's become far more less fragmented than what it was. I think it's had a significant impact. I think it's actually reshaped the entrepreneurialism that's in the market. I think if you look over the last 15 years, particularly when there was the relaxation over the licensing, which meant that more groups and private equity and VC money could come into the market. In the early days of that, and even if you look at 15 years ago, it was mainly the likes of ADP, IDH, Oasis, James Hall. There was a massive influence on recruiting overseas dentists. And obviously at that time, the dental contract had changed, so it was all about fulfilling the UDAs. NHS contracts had become a bit of a commodity. And I think what that had done to the market, it injected an entrepreneurial spirit into the market. All of a sudden, you weren't just dealing with people that were clinically focused. You now were dealing with people that understood the business side and the business model of running a dental practice. Over the last probably 10 years or so, since the likes of Dentex and Dental Partners and GenSmile and some of the other groups, you can see that there was a huge shift towards the private dental model. And I think part and parcel of that wasn't necessarily all because NHS dentists were hard to recruit, but I think there was more creativity in the market. There was more desire to grow and build a different business model. And I think those foundations right at the outset from the corporate influence had actually reshaped how we built those groups. I think when Dental Elite started 15 years ago, the market was at the very early stages of that corporate evolution in some respects. So what we were finding is that deal terms and the volume of deals were growing, and actually deals terms were becoming a bit more complicated. And what the market needed was something that was more consultative, something that wasn't just relying on the idea of, we're a broker, we're an agent, we can sell your business. The idea for us was about how we can work with vendors, sellers, to do one or two things: either grow and then get to a point where it's I guess preparing for an exit. Even in some respects, how we can offer advice in the smaller groups and how they can grow and build out their groups. So we offered a more consultative approach at a time where the market was becoming more complicated. And I think what we did very well at that time was have a very strong collaboration with stakeholders, solicitors, accountants, financial planners, as well as having a really good understanding and grounding of the deal structures that were in the market at the time. And one thing for us was about being able to provide that knowledge. the influence now of that entrepreneurialism in the market has introduced various other brokers in the market who are probably singing off a similar hymn sheet in terms of being a bit more consultative, being a bit more technical in terms of the knowledge side of things. So I think for us, it then comes down to how we manage that as a business. So we have a very clear kind of division of labor in the business where we kind of hyper focus on each part of that process. So whether it's kind of lead generation to marketing the practice, to being able to successfully sell the practice through the sales progression process and get to the end of the line. And I think one thing that we've kind of done very well is introducing various bits of expertise in each part of that process, but also allowing us to engage with buyers that we want to engage with. So we've invested significantly in processes, in AI, in various things which allow us to be able to put ourselves in a position where in a busy and hectic market, how can we ensure that if you come to us and you want your practice on the line, you want to sell your practice, how can we be sure that we are engaging and dealing with buyers quickly and efficiently and effectively? And so I think a lot of it comes down to internal processes and how we've done that. From a marketing perspective, anybody can say we do CQC, anybody can say we've got sales progression, but I think for us, it's about how we implement that internally and how those processes and systems allow us to do things quickly and on volume, but also do it accurately. I think I would say that to ride the waves of the market, to in any market. I mean, there's similar peaks and troughs and ups and downs, and I think the dental market in particular has gone through that over the last 10 years. There's been various black swan events such as COVID and the biggest interest rate change, recruitment issues and various other things. And I think through that process, there's been a lot of unknown what was going to happen. But actually one thing that I'd probably say to my 10 year ago self is that, these things are cyclical, they come and they go, and often they bounce back. So it would probably be to ride with it and to, enjoy when the times are good, enjoy it. And when they're bad, don't stress about it, it'll get good again. The dental market, if you're talking about corporatization, I think that will continue to happen. I think roughly now 4,000 practices are owned by individuals that own 2 or more sites when you consider the big groups and the kind of smaller micro groups and consolidators and your multi-site owners. And I think that's only going to get more consolidated over the next 15 years. I don't think it would necessarily be like an opt-on market where everything's owned by Specsavers or everything's owned by IDH or in this case, or one of the big groups. But I think what will happen is you'll continue to see innovation and entrepreneurialism in the market, new entrants. And I think what will happen is the smaller single site practices will become sort of less and less. DE at a party would probably be the cocktail maker, because I think we're the ones that have always mixed things up, and I think we're quite innovative. So I think we're the ones that bring the life to the party. I think to have a resilient market that continues to go on the path that it has done over the last 20 years, really, because it allows us to keep moving forward. It allows us to keep opening opportunities and opening doors for people. Hopefully it allows us to continue to grow and build a team of people that want to work here, and to give people a bit of stability. I think at the early days, you're kind of wearing every hat to some degree. I think although you are playing a strategic role at that time, I think the business probably wasn't in a position where you could solely be in a strategic position. So I think over the last sort of probably 7-8 years. It's the team that we've got now, and the level of expertise that we've got in the business allows us to diversify some of that labour, which means that I can focus on stuff which is more strategic, more tech-based, more operational based. And I think at the early days, you're so focused on paying the bills and doing the fee earning that it doesn't allow you to work strategically in the business. And I think if I look at how that landscape's changed over the last 15 years, I'd probably say now 50% of that time has now been spent in more strategic roles. I think specific things, there's been so many, but I think what's been great as a business, there are so many that we've been to New York, we've been to Spain, we've done all these trips, we've done quizzes in the office. There's been so many, and I think it's because the people that have been here along that journey, regardless of whether they're still here now, we've always been a business that has embraced the culture of going out and doing stuff. So I think for me, those team events have by far been some of the best days.